We will not have the panel on citizen science afterwards. Torsten, if you hear that, yes. So we will have first Philippa, and we'll take questions after. And then we'll have Lucy with some questions after, and then we'll have more time for a mingle before we do our last panel, which will be also short. It's been a long day, a lot of hard work, and soon we need to get out also and enjoy the sunshine. And but having said that, that was actually one goal of this project, was also to get you away from your computers in a room, but out in the nature and by the ocean and building things. So I'm so amazed to see how much that's been achieved here as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Philippa. You can introduce yourself if that's okay. So, okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robin. Thank you, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank you all for the opportunity to be here today with you and share my perspective. But I'm overwhelmed by this incredible session. So thank you so much to provide this opportunity for me as a marine scientist. So I'm not a techie person, but I need data, as you mentioned all the time. Data is needed. Actually, I need those data. So I'm really overwhelmed. I'm excited to maybe collaborate with you in the future. I think that Portugal has a lot of opportunities to implement pilot projects, taking into account the diversity of projects that you developed today. So congratulations for that. So why I'm here as a marine scientist, I'm based in Portugal, in the Eastern Atlantic coast, of the other parts of Europe. And I work in one of the oldest universities from Europe, at least one of the oldest in the east, that part. And I work in the Marine and Environmental Science Center, which is located along the Portuguese coast. And we have some scientists working on marine data from biodiversity to human impacts. And I'm on the marine, on the assessment of those impacts on coastal ecosystems and marine species. So my target is the assessment of the impacts of human uses on the ecosystems, from the tiny zooplankton to the top predators, the sharks, and how these human impacts can affect those species and, well, all the food web. So I'm there. If you want to meet us, it's a pleasure. It will be a pleasure to receive you. And my topic is global plastic pollution, which for sure you are also aware of. We know that these days 8 million tons of plastic are entering the oceans, and the projections for the future are not that good. In a business as usual scenario, we know that we will use 3 times more plastic materials in the future. The recycling is it's never the solution when we increase the amount of and the production of these materials. And we know that for sure we will also increase the number of waste, of plastic waste in the ocean. So the problem is well recognized by the scientific community, and we are well engaged with the European agencies that wants to know how much plastics, or how many plastics and different plastics are in the ocean and are entering the ocean. So baseline data is needed about the plastics in the ocean, about the plastics entering the ocean, about plastics and, well, let's say everywhere. So it is also virtually impossible to count and map plastic debris without using technology, right? So in the beginning of the monitoring programs, the European agencies used visual sensors counting plastics on the beach visually to have an estimation of how much plastics are in the beaches as a proxy of how much plastics are entering in the ocean. But as you can imagine, visually identifying plastic debris, it's almost impossible. So, of course, we need technology, we need drones, we need satellites to help scientists and data managers to have a better picture of how much of these materials are actually entering the marine ecosystems. It's here that we, in Portugal, after introducing and after having the visual census program, which is really costly, is at some time, it's also boring to count manually all the plastics that are entering the beaches. So we use a program designed by us scientists, a citizen science project, aiming at assessing the levels of plastics in the beaches of Portugal. So, as you are aware of, citizen science can be the contribution of citizens in in several topics, but here, for instance, we want to be involved with citizens, not only to count marine plastic debris, but also to communicate the results of these data gathering. And citizen science, it's also not only data gathering, but it could be the integration of citizens in the scientific methods, which could be observation, but it could be also questioning, the co-creation of new projects, data collection, which is maybe the most commonly used citizen science initiatives, but not only, it's not only this that we can use, data analysis. And this is, I think, really important, because most of the time we are thinking that in gathering data, but scientists maybe don't have the time and the tools to analyze then the information that are being gathered. So it's important also to have some tech persons involved in the analysis of those data. So citizen science can be the integration of citizens in one of or most of these steps. We designed a simple app. It's nothing so fancy. It's just a simple app. It's a responsive website that is designed entirely in Portuguese. And why in Portuguese? Because we wanted to tackle the youngest generation first, and we also wanted to scale up the project for the Portuguese-speaking countries in Africa, which most of the time don't have access to technology. So we designed a website, a responsive website, it's not even necessary an app, and you can use it offline and upload the data after collection. So it's a very simple platform, because it was designed for this targeted population. The Portuguese-speaking countries, of course, it can be translated as well for English, but we wanted to be able to communicate with those people that, of course, have limited resources in those countries. So the results, this platform was designed 3 years ago. So it's what I wanted to share with you today is not only how it works and what is the implementation of the project. I wanted to show you what we are doing with the data collected in this 3 years period, and how data are needed not only to scientists, but to the other stakeholders, and how we are translating these data, because it's not only just collecting data, then you need to translate it to the several stakeholders. And there are different channels of communication to these targeted actors, and sometimes it's not that easy to get in touch with them. So citizen science data, and in our case is marine litter, is plastic densities, can be communicated, of course, to scientists, but also to the wider society, to the industry. And here we have the plastic industry, which is our target in Portugal, and also the policymakers. And I wanted to share with you how we are using this data and how this information is available for these actors in Portugal. So regarding the scientists, and even these results are written in Portuguese, I think that it's well understandable. From this part of this pie, this is the data obtained from our app. We have 2,200 locations, and the other pie represents the data collected by the national authorities. you can see they just collect 15 beaches. They just have data about, well, a small number of beaches because they do it by visually counting manually the plastic debris. And to validate the information that we are gathering, we can assume that we have 80% of correspondence of the national authorities' data and our citizen science data collected. So there is a clear validation of our information that are now used for reporting the levels of plastic pollution in Portugal. So this is a yes for citizen science data at a scientific level. Then this is translated to policy actions in Europe. At least we need to engage with policymakers, and it's not easy for scientists to connect with this target, sometimes they are managers, so they just want to say yes or no, this is a good condition, bad condition. So we are trying to improve these connections and validate the useful, how useful can be citizen science. And somehow they are a bit, well, it's not well accepted that data can be widely used, citizen science data. So we are now working on validating all this information. But we have citizen informant, and I see often that citizen science is not just science. It's awareness, as you said before, it's communication, it's also communicating science. We are doing science, so we are communicating not only the process, but also the ocean-related issues. And in Portugal, we have implemented these communication programs, and we are actually providing a lot of information to the media, a lot of information to the schools, and we are also using or working with local artists, and they are creating exhibitions and artistic material that can be used also for communication purposes. We have national initiatives. We have blue schools along Portugal, which are programs dedicated to ocean literacy, and they include our citizen science program and initiatives. And more recently, we were a pilot in an international project, which is the New Zero project, which aims at assessing and communicating with the citizen science projects with the industry, which sometimes is not that easy to get in touch with them because most of the time they don't have time to listen to scientists, and they don't have also time to integrate citizen science data and how they they don't even think about the potential connections with citizen science data. So we established these connections, and we built some capacity building initiatives, ideas, contests, and collaboration in events. And it was really cool because for the first time, we connect with the Plastic Industry Association in Portugal, and now we are co-creating new projects targeting their problems. And for that, we decided to move to the zero pellets laws, which is the raw material of plastic objects. And in Portugal, there are many industries that produces plastic, like here in Sweden, of course, and they produce these materials, but we know that they ended in the environment, and we found pellets everywhere. And they contain a lot of toxic materials and toxic chemicals. And the European policies wanted to target this issue. So we decided with the industry, are you willing to, with us, voluntarily participate in a project where we can monitor the losses of plastic pellets from your facilities and then implement some mitigation measures? And after that, also monitor the impact of those measures. And they said yes. They said yes. Now we are preparing this new citizen science project aiming at targeting the pellets. We know already how they enter the marine ecosystem from the factory spills, the transport, and we know, of course, the potential effects to marine ecosystems and marine biota. And we want to implement this Portugal Pellets Watch, which will be a national observatory of pellets, as I said, not only from the marine environment, but also from the facilities, industrial facilities, monitor, report. We have the citizens' engagement, but also the industry engaged in these initiatives. And then we want to communicate to the society those results. So we are launching this initiative. We launched it actually last week. The industry, the plastic industry said yes, not officially, but they are committed to help us. And we are looking for additional partners because, of course, international cooperation is also needed. To finalize, I just want to give you some challenges and opportunities of our experience as a citizen science projects, as is not my main core of research. And actually, it's something that I do as in parallel of my main topic, but we know that the main challenges can be related with the validation of data. So don't forget to validate information, because some scientists are also not aware of the potentialities of citizen science information. And we need to assure that there is a quality of this information. And of course, we need to have citizens engaged, and it's not, so sometimes it's not easy to motivate the citizens. And so I think that we should co-create with the with the communities, what are targeting their problems, what are their main issues, their environmental issues that they want to target, and then design with them a potential citizen science initiative. But there is a lot of opportunities, as we have been seeing during this day. We can collect and have incredible databases of everything. We can, in our particular case, we are removing waste as well, actually, while counting. We have education and awareness, and also citizen science and communication of scientific messages. And we have, most of the time, the engagement of other stakeholders that are related with the issue that we are targeting. So collaboration and policy action at the end of this movement of engagement. So at the end, our next steps will be to build an impactful community. It is important to share the best practices, and also to co-create communities of practice, not only individually in coastal areas. For instance, in Portugal, we have a huge traditional fisheries activities, but those communities are relatively poor. So we need to get there to convince them and raise awareness of the impact of their activities and as citizens and citizen scientists as well. So I think that is baby steps, and then scale up these good practices into other countries like yours, and maybe collaborate with you with all these great initiatives. And I would really love to see some of those sensors in Portugal. So feel free to contact me and let's do it. And thank you for your attention. Thank you. I don't know if you have any questions.
Yeah. Okay, let's have some questions for Philippa. Does anybody have anything to ask? One of you students interested in going down to Portugal potentially? That would be great. I have a question. I'm just thinking, now you've seen these 19 projects, and they're very, wide variety from many different sensors in terms of the use cases, the citizens and researchers. I was just thinking, do you have any general words of, reflection on what you've seen in terms of, because you've been working with this a lot, and challenges, because I think there's quite a few here who would like to continue. And so what should they do? How could they get started? And if you could say a few words about that, I think that would be great.
Yeah, I think that identifying the target citizens that you want to work with, it's the first step. Because I forget to mention that we need to be emotionally also correlated with the topic. Otherwise, citizens will lose the motivation. And to succeed in a long-term project, I need to be connected with this issue. So I think that the first step will be trying to identify the problems that you want to target, and then the community that you want to work with, and then design with them the project, and then implement your sensors as an answer to their problem. I think that this is the first and my recommendation, because otherwise you will lose citizen scientists along the way if they are not motivated.
Yeah. Thank you. I think, yes. And then we've seen that from many, well, I'd say all the groups haven't been out there speaking with people through their interviews, seeing what the needs are. But I think what you're saying is very much exactly building the community and co-creating together, or really that's it, you know, where you can get that motivational response and engagement. So, okay, great. Okay. Thank you. So from Portugal to France, now we have Lucy, who will introduce herself and present her perspective on what's going on down there. Do you need sound?
No, it's going to be okay. Because it was a session dedicated on low-tech devices, I just thought I would do a low-tech PowerPoint presentation. And now I feel so ashamed because you did such a great job in your presentation. But please forgive me for that. Should come up. And because it was should I? Yeah, we're getting there. Not really. Something. Maybe this one is sensitive. Can we just play with this one? I think it's just a matter of time. Here we go. Yeah, I think sometimes it just takes a bit. It's sensitive, I guess, in my room. There is something happening. Yeah, it is. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. Can I switch to? I would like to have. Well, I'll start. I have to present so much. I don't know. Interesting one. I'll try to manage anyhow. Thanks again. Ta-da! Yeah, it is. It is. Okay. Yeah, because it was a participatory and citizen science initiative, I said that I will start a presentation with a question for you, participatory exercise. So you need to go to Slido. You can use this QR code or type this number. It's 4257962. And I have one question for you. From the previous presentation, in one word, what have you observed during this mini conference so far? One word. I'm hiding the results. Excellent. Patrick, you're not working on this. No, oh, you need the code again because I was just about to show the results. Oh, sorry about this present. Do you need the number? It's deleting. It gives you time though. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's fine. But it gives answers. Yeah. We're getting there again. So I'll share my screen there. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Okay. So participant. Interesting. Temperature. It's a big one. Interesting. Diversity, innovations, ocean, of course. We all love the ocean. Interesting. Do we need more time? Still even participant writing? Whoa. Future. We got data to catch. Excellent. Well, this is really interesting, but I'm afraid to say that you're very bad sensors. We've all attended the same conference and we just have so many answers, you know? That's not what we want. We want like one information. And maybe if I ask you the same question tomorrow, I will get different answers. So it's not like a sustainable way of acquiring data. Your brain are doing an amazing job, but they are really influenced by your personal background and experience. So how can we do science out of humans? You know, Citizens program is all about having human as sensors, but we're great about feeling the information, but you know, we're not as reliable as a basic sensor, temperature sensor, I must say. But that's a really interesting picture of our conference. We'll go back to that if my presentation wants to. Sorry, give you time. Yeah, what you've observed, graphs, remember, it's really rich, dense, interesting, but highly dependent on the observer and his background. So how to combine subjective, non-reproductive human observation to a rigorous standardized scientific approach? That would be the scope of my presentation. We've been talking about the ocean data gap, and I've been talking about observation. In fact, they are really connected because ocean observation relies on the data lifecycle. I'm not sure you're all familiar with this data lifecycle. It comes from, you know, the data acquisition to the data processing, then to the data analysis, to the data storage, data access, and data reuse. And when we talk about citizen science and participatory observation, sometimes we only focus on data acquisition. Most of your presentations were on data acquisition, but we could have citizen science project on all those steps. So for each of these steps, we will ask ourselves, how can we involve the society in the process? So data acquisition, data collection. Of course, we need simple, robust protocols in order to involve the society, but it's even better when we can co-design the protocols together with them, with the scientists. And some of you went and talked with scientists, with fishermen, with marinas, and that's really great. That's how you get people involved in the process. Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate that for the presentation. For us, that just to let you know, I put some references about citizen science projects that you could Google and have a look at. For data analysis, that's a big challenge for us, you know. It's all about the interpretation of the data, the creation of indicators out of those data, the production of research results. And we need also the society for that, for the data analysis. And I think of some projects that were involving society for the data analysis. I think you guys from the Anchor Watch, you had the society involved in, you know, this detection of the boats. That's really good to have the society also involved in this step, because sometimes when a citizen project is working, we miss manpower to do the data analysis. So we need to involve more the society. Otherwise, it's an obstacle to a further participation. We have so many data coming and so few people to deal with that. So yeah, and we were talking about AI, all the data new coming, you know, potentials, and that's really good opportunities for us in order to improve those steps. Some references again. So we've been talking about the data acquisition, data analysis. Now we have the data storage and the data access. Still, in those steps, you can involve the society. And it's really important when you think about data storage, that you think about the format, the medium that could really connect with the society. One important point is the metadata, all the information you collect with your measurement, such as what was the weather this time, how long have you been out at sea, how old was the sensor, because, you know, sometimes with times, the quality is getting lower and lower. So it's really important to have this metadata, but it's really boring to document. So you need to figure out how we can do that in our citizen sciences or participatory observation initiatives. And about the data access, it's also really important to think about how can both the society and the research community will access to the data afterward. This is something that we need also to focus on in order to, to share the same knowledge in a citizen science initiative. So how can we involve society more in those steps? Maybe we can use, we should pay attention to the data management more and maybe use user-oriented data systems. And one question I had is, you were all building your new website, your own database, but we have existing ocean database, running, and Patrick could talk about that. So maybe something that would be more sustainable for your projects is to connect to existing databases, Even for the environment, it's not good to have so many websites dedicated to one sensor, one parameter. We could all merge our data into a sustainable solution, and that would make the system more efficient. Plus, if you're looking for data, it's more convenient to go to one, one-stop shop instead of browsing all those personal initiatives. And I would have liked to see the connection with existing global data system in your project. It's coming next year. And about data reuse, it's good to collect data, it's good to share them, but how can we use them to make a better world? We need feedback, we need training, we need long-term monitoring initiatives, long-term, that's the key. And I think your presentation was also mentioning that. So how can we actively involve the society in the data reuse? Maybe by promoting training to and through the observation, and maybe by involving all the actors from the start to have collaborative research projects. And also by developing open data policies. Sometimes you don't know how the society, how the researcher will use your data, but since it's open access, since everybody can easily find them, then they will develop opportunities that you're not aware of. And I saw in some of your presentations that you had Creative Commons licenses for your data, and that's really good. Thank you. I do thank you for that. That's the future of our research. So thank you very much. Other challenges about participatory observation is about the actors. Is citizen science where, again, how to place each player. What we've learned from the project management theory, and I could have quoted some Volvo's report, but this is a Toyota one. People were thinking about how do you do a successful project, a collaborative project. They said that we need three things. We need to align our timeframes. Sometimes the researcher timeframe is not the same as the society. We need to align our boundaries. My responsibility goes from there to there. Yours starts here. And we need to have a kickstart, a dynamics for this project. Those are three elements really important to have a successful collaboration. And yeah, we need to check that with every of your projects, that it's all clearly defined. But we need also other stuff. What we've learned from co-design activities, a very recent one, is we also need to share common values. It's very important that we are aligned according to our values. And also, it's really important to take care of each personal interest. And because sometimes some researchers, they do citizen science just to collect data for free or very cheap data, and that's not exactly the same values that we have. And some citizens, for example, they could be involved in the Anchor Watch program or some Ocean Ears project just because they want, to have this political issue at the top of the agenda of the local authorities. And that's something dangerous too. Sometimes citizens get involved for the wrong reasons, and we need to deal with that. So from our French experience, we notice the importance of having intermediate players in order to define a framework for collaboration, to ensure that everyone is well positioned and to maintain a dynamic that respects the timeframes. We call them in French the tiers veilleurs. It's something, I would say, a third party, but it's like an angel, like not a business angel, but like a lifeguard, something that will keep you company through the project in order to make sure that everyone feels safe and well positioned. So that's someone who fosters a co-creation, that respects the framework, and that could help you in building a community, because it's time consuming, right? Philippa, we told about the communities. It takes time. And it's not my job as a researcher. It's not yours as a developer, but we need someone to take care of the community. That could be an NGO, some associations, some consultants, experts, that could be students, but we need to have these actors involved in the project since the beginning. Okay, I've been talking about the challenges, but I like ocean observation and citizen science project a lot because they also bring a lot of opportunities to ask ourselves big questions, such as who has the right to document the environment? Because we've been talking about this and that, about collecting information. And the points of view are very different if you talk to French researchers, to citizens and stuff. Could be only something for professional scientists, expert manager, could be also the citizens. Actually, in France, the global ideas answer to this question has changed, has evolved according time. Back in the Middle East, only rich people could afford to spend time observing the environment. Otherwise, you would fight or, you know, bring some food for your family. But during the French Revolution, some people said that the Republic has no need for scientists anymore. That was something for the rich people, and we don't want rich people to have privilege anymore, so we don't need scientists anymore. Then, a century ago, science becomes more professional. We have those big institutions created, CNRS, IFREMER as well. And now, since 20 years, there's an increase in citizen science projects. There's a big evolution, big trend for citizen science opportunities. And now with COVID, with the energy that is costing more and more, we still need more opportunities to observe. So it's getting, and that's a good thing. But that leads to another question: to who the environment belongs? Who has the right to observe it? And now to who it belongs? And I like observation because it brings us to the concept of the commons, you know, humanities commons, thinking that, and this is a quote from a European manifesto on commons, saying that the environment belongs to everybody, to every man and woman, and that we need agreements in order to take care of those common goods. And maybe I like to quote also Elinor Ostrom, the Nobel Prize, you know, in economics, who said that women and men can enter into binding agreements with a view to committing and to cooperate strategy, with a view to committing to a corporate strategy of their own devising. Sorry, I'm getting tired too. Well, that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening to me. And what I like about the observation is you learn from what you observe, the ocean, but you also learn from the observer. And having this little exercise at the beginning of a presentation, I get an idea of the mini conference, but also get an idea about you. And thank you very much. And that would be my take-home message.
Thank you so much. I think that was fascinating, also getting the perspective over time from looking at how with the review on science. Do we have a question for Lucy? Anyone would like to? Yes, please. Here, wait, come. Here, take the.
Because I think many of us understood it like as a criteria for our course that we needed to create our own database. But could you maybe give some example of like bigger international databases if someone wants to continue with it?
Yes, thank you. Yeah. No, but wait, but I think it's a very good point. And yes, it was interesting. It was very good. It was no, I shouldn't have all those students develop their own website. So that's some good feedback for me for next year, but it's also very much part of their learning. But I think it's a very good point. So yes, to the question, some good examples of, yes. We're going to have Patrick is going to answer. Okay.
No, well, there are a couple of these, but there's one in particular. There's a big European program that with the name of EMONet. And that one is the place to go if you have data that you want to ingest and make available on European and global scales. The good thing with that one is that you also get guidance So we can guide you through the whole process on how to do it, what kind of vocabularies to use to make it easy, because that's a little bit, that comes with the FAIR data principle, that you follow some kind of pretty easy criteria, but you get guidance through it. So that's the major one. By doing that, your data is reached all over the world. It goes to anyone who wants to use it, who can go in and download it or discover it. That's how it is.
Okay. Thank you so much. So thank you, Lucy. Okay, and we'll get access to your slides, I believe, and to Philip as well. Okay, I have one request, and that is that I'd like to take a group photo. Is that possible? I was thinking we've got some space here, we've got some space there, and you could get your sensors and we could get one big group photo. Does that sound like a good idea? Yeah, come on up. Just arrange yourself, self-organize, and bring your sensors. Yes. It's a good idea. Would you like to say anything afterwards? I'm thinking about job opportunities or. Okay.
Okay, well,
Okay.
I've been around talking.
Okay.
to people.
Oh, good.